A man in London opens a parcel from a city he has never visited. Inside are the dead. All of them. By age, by year, every burial the city recorded. He is not a doctor. He is not a priest. He is an astronomer. And in a few months he will work out to the shilling what the rest of your life is worth. This is Libromastro, History's Accounts. Every empire kept a ledger. We open them. In January 1693, England was at war with France and out of money. So Parliament sold annuities. You handed the exchequer £100. The exchequer paid you £14 a year every year until you died. 14% for life. At that rate, you have your money back in a little over 7 years. Everything after that is profit. So the whole deal turns on one question. How long is this person going to live? Now, here is the part that should stop you. £100 for a man of 70. £100 for a girl of 5. The same price. The Treasury never asked. Not because it was careless, because nobody in the building could have told you what the answer would change. The act was meant to raise £1 million, call it 200 million today. It never filled. And the annuities it did sell would go on paying to some of the youngest names on that list for the next 70 years. To price a life annuity properly, you need one number. How likely is this particular person to still be collecting in 10 years, in 20, in 40? The arithmetic is trivial. The table is not. Who dies at what age, year by year, counted rather than assumed? For most of European history, nobody had written that down. Rome had a rule of thumb for valuing a life annuity, attributed to the jurist Ulpian. Nobody left alive still knew what it was built on. 30 years before Halley, a London haberdasher named John Graunt had tried. He sat down with the bills of mortality, the weekly lists the parish clerks posted during plague years, and he counted. Graunt was doing real work, but the London bills recorded what killed you, not how old you were when it did. Age at death would not be written down in London for another 2 generations. So Graunt guessed the ages, and the city he was counting was swelling year after year with people arriving from the countryside, which meant he could not tell a population that was surviving from a population that was simply being restocked. He knew it. He said so. What he needed was a city that stayed still and wrote everything down. Such a city existed. It was 600 miles away, and nobody in London had thought to ask. Breslau, Silesia. Today it is Wrocław in Poland. The city's Protestant minister was a man named Caspar Neumann, and Neumann had a habit. Every birth, every burial, and beside every burial, the age. He was not doing statistics. He was arguing with astrology. He wanted to prove that people did not die more often in the years superstition said they should. To prove it, he needed clean numbers. So for years, he kept clean numbers. Neumann sent his registers to Gottfried Leibniz. Leibniz forwarded them to the Royal Society in London. And in London, they landed on the desk of the editor of the Philosophical Transactions, who happened to be Edmond Halley. 36 years old, already famous for cataloging the southern stars, he was about to notice something about Breslau that made it the most valuable city in Europe for exactly one purpose. Breslau buried almost exactly as many people each year as it christened. Almost nobody moved in. Almost nobody moved out. Which means Breslau gave you something no census could. A human lifetime held still on paper. 5 years of it, 1687 to 1691. What Halley did with those registers is simple enough to describe, and had never been done. Start with what he actually had. The registers never said how many people in Breslau were 30 years old. Nobody had counted the living. They said who died that year and how old each one was. So he turned it around. In a town where nobody arrives and nobody leaves, everyone alive at 30 is simply everyone who is going to die at 30 or later. Count the dead from that age upward, and you have the living. He did it for every year of age, 1 to 84, 1 row each, scaled to around 1,000 so the arithmetic would be easy. The result is a column of numbers that walks 1,000 infants through their entire lives. 1,000 at 1, 692 at 7, 628 at 15, 531 at 30, 242 at 60, 41 at 80. Add the column up, and you get the population of the city. Halley got 34,000, which was about right, a check that the whole construction held. He then noticed the thing that people quote him for. Of the 1,238 children born in Breslau in an average year, roughly half were dead before they turned 17. Nobody had ever been able to write that sentence and mean it as a fact. Halley's table told you the odds. To turn odds into a price, he added one more idea. A pound promised to you in 20 years is not worth a pound today. So take each future payment and cut it down by the interest it would have earned. Halley used 6%. Then multiply what is left by the chance the person is still alive to collect it. Do that for every year they might live and add it up. That sum is what the annuity is actually worth. He ran it for a dozen ages and printed the answers. For a child of 10, about 190 pounds. For a man of 20, 180. For a man of 50, 130. For a man of 70, 75. And the government sold it for 100, whoever the name was. So the Crown was handing a 10-year-old nearly double what it charged. Same counter, same terms, same afternoon. It was overcharging the old man standing behind him. One flat price was a gift and a swindle depending on who was standing at the window. Halley did not editorialize. He printed the column, and the column said it. He went further in one line that ended up mattering more than the annuities. The price of insuring a life for a year, he wrote, ought to be set by the odds of dying in it. A man of 20 and a man of 50 are not the same bet. That sentence is the life insurance industry. It is 1693, and it is one sentence long. The paper went out in the Philosophical Transactions in 1693. It was not buried. Halley edited the journal. The Royal Society was the government's own scientific establishment. Isaac Newton was a fellow of it. They read it and went on selling at 7. The Treasury did not change its single-price policy, not that year, not that decade. England kept selling age-blind annuities and kept losing on the young ones, because the department that needed the money this quarter was not the department that would pay for it in 40 years. The first institution to actually price a life by its age opened in London in 1762. Equitable Life, 69 years after Halley printed the method. By then, Halley was 20 years dead, and the mathematics had been so thoroughly re-derived by other men that his own name mostly dropped off it. He is on every list of great astronomers. He is on almost no list of the people who built modern finance. He did both in the same decade, in the same journal. Every life insurance policy, every pension, every annuity sold anywhere in the world today runs on Halley's construction. The numbers have all been replaced. The shape has not. A column of survivors by age, discounted for interest, priced by the odds. Here is how live that is. For the 2026 plan year, the American Tax Authority publishes the mortality tables that private pension plans must use to value what they owe. The base rates come from a study of actual pensioner deaths. On top of them sits an assumption about how much longer people will keep living with each passing year. And in the 2026 tables, that assumption is set to 0 for the years 2020 through 2023. That is the pandemic entered into the arithmetic, not as a memorial, as 4 years removed from the projection, because the people who were expected to be alive were not. Congress also capped how fast that assumption may improve at all, not more than 0.78% a year, a legislature writing a ceiling on institutional optimism about death. Every one of those decisions is a fight about the exact quantity Halley pulled out of a Silesian parish register. How many are still here at each age? Everything downstream of that number is arithmetic. Your premium, your pension, what your employer must set aside for you this year. Halley did not end the paper with the annuity tables. He added 4 paragraphs at the end, almost as an afterthought, and they are not about money at all. Having just counted how many children in Breslau die before 17, he wrote that we complain unjustly about the shortness of our lives, that we think ourselves wronged if we do not reach old age, when the table plainly shows that reaching it at all is the exception. The man who turned death into a price used the last page to tell his readers to stop resenting it. That is what a mortality table actually is. A record of everyone who came before you, kept honestly enough that a stranger in another country could count it. It says nothing about you in particular. It never did. A parish minister wrote down the ages, an astronomer added them up, and every promise anyone has made you about the rest of your life has been priced off that column ever since. This is Libromastro, History's Accounts.